What's up, gamers? Today I'm coming at you with a Naruto deck profile from the very recent Great Ninja Tournaments. First tournament that happened in Florida. It was the first Naruto card game in-person tournament in quite a long time, and we had about 40 players. And I'm going to try to do a few deck profiles. Yours truly was the head judge, which was a very cool, very fun experience. Got to meet a bunch of people I've talked to online before, got to play a bunch of Naruto, and it was just really, really fun. And now I'm trying to immortalize some of the decks people brought by doing deck profiles of them for YouTube. So the first one I'm starting off with is Nima June's deck profile. He played Mental Power Goodstuff, and I'm going to jump right into it. So, the game plan. First of all, he plays a lot of early game disruption. He wants to limit his opponent's options with Tamari, Training in the Moonlight, and Ami, all of which rip a card out of their hand, and weaken their board state with stuff like Comparative Strengths, Shino, I think that's Shion. That's supposed to be Shion. Shion Awakened. That removes a 4-cost ninja, and it's a 1-cost ninja, so you get a lot of tempo that way. Ino Playful, which stops multiple ninjas from entering in a single turn. Fuin, Hinata, and Zetsu to negate effects and stop jutsus. And then he has a lot of mental power stuff. So most of your ninjas are going to have a mental power stat in this deck, which benefits you because you get the effects of Yamato and Chiriku. Sakura draws a card whenever you play mental power ninjas. Shikamaru can do mental power battles. And then Sakura's Decision on a high mental power ninja can draw you a lot of cards. And then you got Hyper Consistency. He plays Gaara, Hotaru, Hanare, Hinata, Konohamaru Ninja Squad, Sakura, and Ino Childhood, all of which can draw him more cards, keeping his hand full. Shikamaru's Decision and Makeout Tactics, so that you find the exact ninja you need on the exact turn you need it. And then Sakura's Decision and Training in the Moonlight dig through your deck very quickly. And then lastly, for his game plan, there is a lot of stability. Chiriku protects ninjas from jutsus, KNS protects them from other ninja effects, and Karin can heal a ninja every turn. Yamato loops your missions and jutsu, so you can keep hitting your ninja drops, dealing with threats, and just stay in the game consistently, because you won't run out of resources if Yamato is live. And then Kurenai can buy him a free turn by stopping the opponent from getting battle rewards for a turn, and Itachi can push through chump blockers to break any stalemates. Then I'll go through the exact ratios he plays. For the early game, we're going to do I consider early game like turn 0, 1, and 2, because turn 3 is when you start really like doing combos and stuff. So first, for the early game, we have 3 Gaara Childhood. It's a 3 power, which is like the baseline for a good turn 0 ninjas. You want it to have either 3 power or 2 support if you're going to play a powerful ninja on turn 1. But on turn 0, yeah, you want that 3 power, which Gaara has. He replaces himself immediately. And on turn 5, he can squad with Tamari to give you a big board presence. Then Hotaru, we got 2 symbols instead of 1, and she either draws a card or gets herself to 4 power when you play her, and she has mental power, which helps you, gives you a target for Shikamaru's Decision and helps you get to 12 mental for Yamato and Chiriku, 8 for Chiriku. Hanare, same with that 2 mental power, also 3 combat, and when you play her, you see your opponent's whole hand, so you get to know what jutsus and missions and ninjas they'll have available. She digs you 1 card into your deck, and then you have to charge a card from your hand, so you break even. You do not plus with her, but she gives you hand knowledge, which is still good. So 2 of those. Then we have 1 regular Hinata, which searches your deck for another Hinata when you play her to guarantee that you get a ninja drop on that turn. And then 1 Hinata Awakened. When she blocks, she gets a growth coin, so she'll get bigger and bigger and bigger if she keeps blocking. And she has growth, so you can growth her over the first Hinata to start out with 2 support in the first place. And your opponent's max hand size is reduced by 1, bringing them down to 5, which can be useful against decks that draw a ton of cards and need a lot of cards in their hand to do their thing. Then we play 1 Sakura Childhood. She's really good because when you play her and when she leaves the field, including by growth, you can look at your top card, and if it's a ninja, you put it in your hand. So she has the potential to draw you 2 cards for a single 0 drop, which is twice as many cards as Gaara or Hotaru can get you. The thing is, she doesn't have 3 power, she has 2 support, so she won't give you immediate pressure, but that 2 support is still very, very good. Then we have 2 Sabiru. He has kind of a low stat line, 2-1, but he is mainly there for his effect. So if you've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh!, you know what Effect Veiler is. If you've ever played Magic, think of it like a stifle. Basically, you negate the effect of 1 ninja on your opponent's turn for that turn. And you have to remove Sabiru from your hand to do that. So like a hand trap, basically. So you either deploy him if you really need to and you didn't see another 0 drop, or you save him for later to basically get rid of him from your hand to stop an opponent's very important ninja effect for one turn. So I think that gives us 11 total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This guy plays 13 zero drops. Very, very high amount of zero drops. But that means he'll always have them when he needs it. So can't blame him. Then we have, for the 1 drops, we have 1 Childhood. This also has 2 support. And basically, at the start of each of your turns, she draws you a free card. You have to mill 3, but that's okay because none of your cards are like super, super reliant on each other. So milling 3 cards won't be that bad. And if you mill any missions or jutsus, Yamato can recover them later. Then we have 1 Shikamaru Flexibility. As long as you have 5 or more cards in your hand, he forces a mental power battle, and he has 4 mental power, which is pretty much as high as you're going to see on any ninja outside of like a squad later in the game. Then we have 1 Tamari. This is the one that squads with Gaara. Very, very strong card. I'll get to that later. But this card on her own is also really, really good. She has that 2 support. You'll notice every 1 drop he plays has 2 support. So they go really well with those 3 power 0 drops. When you play Tamari, again, you get to look at your opponent's entire hand, just like Hanare, but instead of drawing a card and charging a card, Tamari rips a jutsu out of your opponent's hand. So that is a resource they will not get to use against you on an important turn. Then we have 1 Shion. She can give your opponent 3 battle rewards, and for those of you not familiar, you need 10 battle rewards to win a game of Naruto. She gives your opponent 30% of what they need to win, but in exchange, she sacrifices herself and kills any 4 cost or lower ninja on your opponent's field and removes it from the game, so they can't even get it back out of their discard pile. So you play her on turn 1, and then later you can remove your opponent's turn 4 ninja, basically for free in terms of card advantage. It's like you basically pay 3/10 of your life points, in a sense, to get a very strong trade. And then we have 1 Kidomaru, state 1. He can reinforce into the state 2 Kidomaru on turn 4, and we'll cover that one later. And importantly, he has no hand cost. So even though he's water, you don't need a lot of water in your deck to reinforce him because the reinforcement does not need a hand cost. Still going early game, we have a 6th 1-drop, which is Karin. She can heal a ninja every turn, but your opponent has to have something in their discard pile for that to work. And she has Ambush, which can come in handy if you pay her for a water mission. And she has that 2 support that we like to see on turn 1 ninjas. Then for the 2-drops, we have Sakura Booksmarts. She says whenever you deploy her or another mental power 2 or greater ninja, you draw a card. So she immediately replaces herself and gives you more and more card advantage over the course of the game every turn she survives, because pretty much all your ninjas are going to have 2 mental power or higher to trigger her. Not all of them, but most of them. And then later on, she can squad with those Hinatas that we saw earlier to give you a very powerful win con. Then we have 1 Konohamaru Ninja Squad. This card is limited to 1 copy, so we are playing the 1 copy. 3 support, very, very good for turn 2. And he protects your other leaf ninjas in his team from your opponent's ninja effects. And on top of all that, he has 4 mental power. And on top of that, he basically looks at your top card and then puts it in your hand when you play him. So this card just does absolutely everything. It is limited for a good reason. Then we have 1 Playful. You'll notice most of these cards come at 1 copy because it really is kind of like a toolbox deck where you get the exact card you need for the situation. So then we have 1 Yamanaka, Playful. She says your opponent's head ninja effects are negated. So whenever they go to the battle phase and try to attack or block, whoever's the head ninja of their attacking or blocking team will not get to use its effect, which can really mess up some deck strategies. And then I think the more important effect on her, and she has 3 support, just to mention that. Very good for turn 2. But her other effect is that each player can only put in play 1 ninja per turn, which is really good for us because we don't spam a lot of ninjas unless we try to squad later. So for the decks that try to squad on like turn 3 or 4, or that try to platoon, or that try to growth a lot, we basically shut those decks down in their tracks. And it's really good against Flashpoint decks because they remove something for Flashpoint. You play their Flashpoint ninja comes back, and then they don't get to deploy that turn because they already played a ninja. Then we have 1 Hinata, searchable by that 0-drop Hinata we covered. She picks a name when you play her, and then any ninja with that name cannot use jutsus. So you can shut off your opponent's main jutsu user from being able to do their stuff. Then we have 1 Fuen. She has Ambush, which is really good because we have a few wind missions that we can pay her with, or pay with her for those missions, and then she can play herself out of your chakra area. She has 2 support, not the 3 support stat line that we like to see on turn 2s, but her effect is really good. You can injure her to negate all the effects of your opponent's battling ninjas for 1 turn. And then we have ways to heal her like that Karine, so you can use her negation over and over. For the mid game, turn 3s and 4s, we have 1 Zetsu. This is our only 3-drop, I believe. Looks like it. It has ambush, which is good because we got some earth missions. We can play him from the chakra area after using him for a hand cost. He has 3 support, and he tracks a ninja and negates the tracked ninja's effects. So you pick a name, any ninja with that name, its effects will be negated as long as Zetsu is on the field. Then for the 4-drops, we have 1 Chiriku, mental power 2, 5-3 stat line. While you have combined mental power of 8 or more on your field, his team cannot be affected by jutsu cards. So he's very, very good for that stability we were talking about. You just want to get a big team, and then you feel safe because you know they're safe from jutsus. You can just swing with your big number, get some battle rewards. We have 1 Kurenai. She's really good because she puts an extra ninja on your field on your opponent's turn, basically giving you an extra deploy at the cost of discarding 1 card out of your hand. But the bonus on top of that is that your opponent can't win any battle rewards the turn you do that. So if they were swinging in with a bunch of big teams and you couldn't stop them all, you can just play Kurenai, discard a card, your opponent gets no BRs that turn, and you got an extra ninja on your board on top of that. And then we have 1 Sasuke. He has ambush, very good when we pay him for a water mission. And his effect is when you play him, you get any 2 cards from your deck to your chakra area. So if you needed a certain symbol for your jutsus, you can get that. If you want to pull out some ambush ninjas to guarantee your drops next turn, you can do that. If you want to get your Anbus in your chakra area, so that Kakashi can put them in play, which I'm about to get to, you can do that. Very versatile effect, and on top of that, he has 6 power, which is pretty dang high for a 4-drop. Then we have Kakashi Anbu Days. This card is limited to 1 copy. He is very, very good. He has 3 mental power, pretty high. And when you play him, you put in play any Anbu ninja from your discard pile or chakra area. That means you don't have to match the turn marker, and you don't have to pay the hand cost. So we'll get to what his targets are in a second. And then we have the late game. These are his targets. We have 2 5-drops, no 6-drops or higher. First we have Itachi. This is an Anbu ninja, so Kakashi can cheat him out on turn 4 without paying his hand cost. And he says your opponent plays with their hand revealed, so you know every jutsu they have access to at all times. Very important for going for big pushes in the late game. And while your opponent has 2 or more of the same type of card in their hand, Itachi says if he wins a victory, you win a battle reward. So they can't even chump block him now. You get to see their whole hand, and he gets BRs even if they chump block him. Then we have Yamato. This card is Earth and Water, very nice for paying our chakra hand costs. And then he is also Anbu with 3 mental power. Kakashi can cheat him out on turn 4. He says as long as your combined mental power on your field is 12 or higher, every exchange of jutsu, he gets a mission or jutsu from your discard pile to your hand for free to loop your resources. Very, very good. And both of these have a pretty decent stat line. Itachi with the 6 power, and both of them have 3 support. Then we'll go into the missions and jutsus. First up, all the consistency cards in the deck. We have 3 times Sakura Decision. She says, injure one of your healthy female ninjas, then draw cards equal to its mental power. So we saw earlier, we have that Sakura with 3 mental power, and the Konohamaru Ninja Squad with 4 mental power. So injuring either of those will net you a bunch of good cards. And we also have Sakura Childhood. She only has 2 mental power, unlike the big Sakura, but drawing 2 cards for mission is still better than a lot of other missions. Like, that's kind of the baseline, is draw 2. It's the cherry on top if you can draw 3 or 4 with this Sakura or this Konohamaru Ninja Squad. Then we have 2 Shikamaru's Decision. This card is limited to 2 copies, so we're playing both copies. Very, very good. One of the best missions in the whole game. Wind or Earth lets us play with a lot of different cards. And he picks one of your ninjas in play. Whatever its mental power is, you search your deck for a ninja with that entrance cost or less. Or if you pick Shikamaru, you search for any ninja. And if you search a female ninja, you draw a card on top of that. So again, that's the baseline, is you play a mission, you get 2 cards. He gives you a ninja search and draw a random card. So you get 2 cards. Very good for the baseline, and he's a search on top of that. You can target Konohamaru Ninja Squad to search any 4 cost or less, including your Kakashi, which is kind of one of your win cons, really. Like, that's a big tempo push if you can put out that Kakashi on turn 4. And you do have the 1 Shikamaru flexibility that lets you search any ninja in the deck if you target him. Then we have 2 Makeout Tactics. This basically says however much chakra you have, search your deck for a ninja with that entrance cost or less. So it gets more and more targets as you build up your chakra, and it can help you hit your important ninja drops. Then we have 1 Anko's Memory. This card is limited You know how I said earlier the baseline for a mission is that it gives you 2 cards? Well, this gives you 3 cards, and you get to pick them because they come out of your chakra area. So anything you had to pay for earlier, you can get it right back to your hand in case you needed it, and you can play it with that Sasuke that puts any 2 cards from your deck into your chakra. You just search the 2 cards you need, and then Anko's memory puts them straight into your hand, plus an extra card, because who doesn't need a 3rd card on top, you know? And then we have 1 times training in the Moonlight. This card is also limited. You'll notice we're playing a lot of limited and semi-limited cards. They're good, you know, we're going to play the good cards. Training the Moonlight rips a random card out of your opponent's hand. This can just win you the game or give you a huge tempo push for free sometimes, because you could just rip the exact card your opponent was relying on to play next turn and put them a whole turn behind, basically, or really mess with their flow. And then on top of that, if they now have equal or less cards than you, you get to draw 2 cards. So again, we said the baseline for a mission was 2 cards and card advantage. This gives you 3 because you draw 2 and your opponent loses 1. So that's a 3 card swing for a mission. Very, very strong. Then the 1 consistency mission that most decks play if they have the option is Tsuchigumo style Forbidden Jutsu Release Big Bang. This is basically a mission in jutsu form. You pay 1 chakra, put 1 card from your hand into your chakra, and then draw 2 cards. So you can play a mission and then also play this jutsu in the same turn. So it's kind of like a free mission. Then for the interaction on the missions and the client, the 1 client in the deck, we have Ami. She says when you play her, if you already had just at least 1 other female in your village, you look at your opponent's hand. Again, that hand knowledge is very, very strong. You know exactly what your opponent's cooking, exactly what cards they need to combo with. You look at their hand and discard any jutsu or any mission. Absolutely backbreaking. You can shut down their game plan immediately, put them a turn behind because they don't get to play the mission they needed. It's just very, very strong. And you get to know exactly what they're planning. Then we have 2 times comparative strength. This is basically another effect veiler where when your opponent would do a when your opponent would do a ninja effect in their mission phase, you can say, nope, I'm going to change your effect to you can't play jutsus with specific costs. So not only do they lose the effect they were counting on, they also can't have that ninja use specific symbol jutsus, which is most jutsus that people are using. Very, very good. And on top of that, it doesn't even have a hand cost. Very strong. Then we have 2 times the Great Naruto Bridge. This is kind of to make sure our plans go through uninterrupted. You can negate a counter mission or any in-play card's text for 1 turn. So if your opponent tries to comparative strength you can negate their comparative strengths for that turn to make sure your ninja effect resolves. And then on top of that, if your opponent had any pesky effect in play, you can negate it for the turn so you don't have to deal with it. Then here are the jutsus. A lot of limited cards here. We have 1 times Fear by Genjutsu. You can only play 1, so we play the 1. This standby an entire opposing team, and if our user had Genjutsu, which we can do with either Kakashi or Itachi, you also give a damage to the entire team. So all 3 of the ninjas you were battling, now you fizzle their jutsus and they all take a damage. And that even works if they're injured. So if they are injured, you get to kill them. Then we have 1 copy of Hydro Pump. This is also limited, so we play the 1 copy. Any ninja 5 cost or more can use it, which is some of our squads and our Itachi and our Yamato. You pick any 2 ninjas on the board. They don't even have to be blocking you or battling at all, and put them in the hand. And for squads and reinforcements, that means they get removed from the game permanently. And then if you had a Puppet Master, you discard the target instead. But this deck does not have any Puppet Masters. Then we have 1 copy of Reverse Tetragram Sealing Jutsu. This is also limited, so we play the 1 copy we're allowed to play. It can't be negated. Entrance costs 5 or more requirements, so again, that Anbu, Itachi, or Yamato. You remove the user from the game, and then whatever its entrance cost was, you pick your opponent's ninjas whose combined entrance cost equals that or less, and remove them. So you could use your 5 cost Yamato to play this, remove it from the game, and then remove from play, say, a 2 cost ninja and a 3 cost ninja, and any number of 0 cost ninjas, because it's just any number of ninjas whose combined cost equals the users. So zeros just all get removed for free. Very, very, very strong card. And if Danzo used it, we draw 2 extra cards, which I believe this deck does play the Danzo reinforcement. So on top of that, you could get 2 cards off of your jutsu on top of removing those ninjas. Absolutely crazy. Big, big swing. Then we have 1 times Ferocious Punch. This is just a very flexible jutsu negate. Any female or medical ninja can use it, which we have a lot of females in the deck, and it only costs 2 chakra. You negate a jutsu being played and give a damage to the user, meaning if that user was already injured, they are now dead. Then we have one Mind Transfer Jutsu. This is limited to 2 copies, but we're only playing 1 copy here just because of deck space. Costs 2 Earth. You pick a ninja on the battlefield, or no, you pick a ninja anywhere with less mental power than the user and put it in the user's team. And if Ino Yamanaka used this, you get to keep it for that turn and the next turn. Otherwise, you keep it till the end of that turn. So this can fizzle the jutsus of anything someone was using and put that ninja in your team so you get its combat stats for the showdown. Then for the reinforcement deck, we have 15 cards. The first one is Sasuke State 2. This comes out on turn 7, and anytime it uses a water or fire jutsu, if it's water, you discard 2 of your opponent's chakra, and if it's fire, you give a ninja to one you give a damage to one opposing ninja. So that triggers on any fire or water jutsu. We only have we don't have any water jutsus, but we do have fire. So whenever you use a Fear by Genjutsu, you're going to get to give a damage to an opposing ninja. And that Sasuke has Genjutsu on top of that, so you will give another damage to the whole team. Very, 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 very good with Fear by Genjutsu. And he has Mastery, so he can just use that jutsu over and over and over again, which will pretty much win you the game. Then we have one Danzo. He comes out by sacrificing any Sharingan Eye Ninja, which is either our Kakashi or our Itachi or our Sasuke. Any of those Sharingan Eye Ninjas can be sacrificed to bring out Danzo. Whatever the sacrifice's entrance cost was, he gets that many +1/+1 coins. So he's usually going to be like an 8 power ninja or a 7 support ninja, which is freaking huge. And he copies any of their characteristics, meaning say you sacrifice Kakashi with 3 mental power. Well, Danzo has 2 mental power, but he also copies the Kakashi's mental power. So now he has mental power 2 and mental power 3. What that means is if he does a mental power battle, he picks the higher number, so he battles with 3 mental power. But for effects like Chiriku and Yamato, they count your whole board's combined mental power. So his mental power 2 characteristic and his mental power 3 characteristic will be combined to count as 5 towards those thresholds of 8 and 12 for Chiriku and Yamato. And importantly, not importantly for this, but say you had a Sasuke on the field and a Sasuke in your hand, and you wanted to play the Sasuke in your hand, you could sacrifice the one on your field for Danzo, and then play the one from your hand because you no longer have a Sasuke on your board. But I don't believe this deck plays multiple copies of any Sharingan Eye Ninjas, so that won't come up for us, but it is something to think about when putting Danzo in your own decks. Then we have one Hokage Naruto. He comes out on turn 6, can pay any number of chakra to bring out a Leaf Ninja with that entrance cost once per turn. Then we have Naruto Sage Mode. He says anything in your chakra or anything in your discard pile can be used as chakra, and you only have to get rid of it to your deck if you paid for a jutsu. So all of your chakra costs are now free, and all of your jutsu costs can be paid for from the discard pile. So anything like Mastery, you can just Mastery for free. You don't even have to pay the chakra because it goes from your discard to your discard. Now for these, we don't have any Narutos in the deck, so these are just here in case your Mind Transfer Jutsu happens to steal a 3-cost Naruto. Then you can keep it on your turn and squad or reinforce into these Narutos. Very, very cool. A way to permanently get rid of your opponent's ninja that you stole. Then we have that one 4-cost Kitamaro State 2 that we talked about earlier. This one does not have a hand cost, so you do not need a water card in your hand to play it. You can just play it for free. And you can bring out Kitamaro on turn 1, 2, 3, or 4, and then squad into this on turn 4. Reinforce into this. And basically he says every mission phase you can discard a card. Your opponent picks one of their ninjas, and then you say that ninja either cannot battle or it has to battle. So this can help you get big teams out of the way late in the game, or if they pick a small ninja, you can force it to block. That way you can bully it off the board by just swinging bigger than it. Then more squads, we have Neji and Hinata. Again, we don't have a Neji in this deck, so this will only come up if you Mind Transfer a Neji to your board and get to keep it for a turn with Ino. Then you can squad it with your Hinata to get it off the board permanently. This basically says if your opponent has more than 3 cards in their hand at the end of their turn, they discard down to 3. Usually it just means they're going to charge those cards instead in their mission phase, but either way it gets them down to only 3 cards in hand, which can cripple their resources. Then we have 2 copies of the Sakura Hinata squad. This is one of our win cons. You can squad Sakura and Hinata into this on any turn 3 or later, and then only female ninjas can battle that turn. So if your opponent's playing like a puppet deck or a no-hand water deck, where they only have like maybe 1 female on their board, this basically says you're going to get 4 battle rewards and bully a ninja off their board that turn. Now the combo with this, and the reason we play 2, is after you bring out the first one, you can use your Sakura book smarts or your Sakura childhood to growth over the squad because it has the name Sakura Haruno while it's in play. So you can growth it, get it off the field, then deploy a Hinata in the same turn and make another copy of the squad. So you could have back-to-back turns of only females can battle and basically just guarantee yourself like 6 to 8 to 10 battle rewards on those 2 turns if your opponent's number of female ninjas is low enough. So that is one of our win cons. Then we have a couple more Naruto squads. Again, these will only come out if you're able to steal a Naruto, so I won't go too much into them. They're just kind of there in case they happen. Then we have a Kakashi and Sasuke squad. This comes out on turn 5. He gives 3 of your opponent's ninjas -1/-1 permanently, and they cannot use jutsus permanently until they have some way to get rid of the -1 coin, which most decks don't have a way to do that. So he comes out with freaking 9 power. Dude, this card is enormous. And he says your opponent's best things can't use jutsus. He's just very, very strong. Then we have the Sasuke and Itachi squad. This says every turn you can pay 2 chakra to either injure a ninja or make it 0/0 for the turn. So you're basically going to make your opponent's blockers just very, very weak every time he wants to attack. Or if they have an effect that's really good and is not valid, you can just injure that ninja to get rid of its effect. The last 2 squads, we have 1 copy of Temari and Gaara of the Desert. This is what I mentioned earlier. You can play your Gaara and Temari very, very early from turn 0 to 1. And then on turn 5, you can turn those weak little ninjas into this big squad with 5 support and mastery, meaning it can play Hydro Pump with mastery to bounce 2 ninjas and then just keep doing it to get all your opponent's ninjas off the board. And when it comes into play, you discard your opponent's entire hand, and they draw that many cards -1. So not only do they go down a card in card advantage, they also lose anything they were like planning to use against you in the future. It's just all down the drain now, and they have to make a new plan from scratch. This card's insane. And lastly, we have 2 copies of Rock Lee and Gaara. Again, this will only be usable if you mind transfer a Rock Lee, since our deck list does not play any Rock Lees. And the effect is like not that important. It's just a way to get a Rock Lee off the board permanently if you happen to steal one. For the side deck, you get 10 cards in Naruto, a little less than some other games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic. You get 10 cards for your sideboard. So we have 2 copies of Hina. This can discard itself to discard any mission or client from the field, not from the chain, just from the field. And it has 2 support on a turn 0 ninja in case you open it and need to play it for a ninja drop. Then we have 1 copy of Pakun. He lowers our Kakashi's entrance cost by 2. So we can play that Kakashi Anbu Days as early as turn 2, cheating out a turn 5 ninja for just an absolutely huge board presence very, very quickly. And on top of that, he says teams cannot perform mental power. So if your opponent had actually like way more mental power focused deck than you, you can just say, actually, we're not doing mental power this game. I don't think so. The one thing to note is that this Kakashi -2 entrance cost effect does not apply to reinforcements or squads. So that Kakashi Sasuke squad will still need to come out on turn 5, not turn 3, even if you have Pakun. Then we have 1 copy of Sasuke Freezing Eyes. When he comes out on turn 4, you remove all ninjas on the field from the game that have entrance cost of 1 or less. So if your opponent was playing a lot of little stuff like that Gaara and Temari and was planning to squad it later, well, now they just can't because you're going to remove them all and then swing for 6 with this big freaking Sasuke. And he can reinforce into either Danzo or that Sasuke State 2 that we saw. Then we have 1 copy of Yoroi. This card is limited to 1. He basically just cripples your opponent's chakra area by every time he attacks, you pick a ninja, and if your opponent battles with that ninja, they lose 2 chakra. So if they block with it or attack with the chosen ninja, their chakra is just gone. It punishes them for attacking or blocking. Then lastly for this slide at least, we have 1 copy of Emina. She says every turn you can shuffle back 5 of your discarded ninjas into your deck to draw 1 card. So we don't really discard a lot of ninjas, but other decks might want to discard our ninjas, so we can use this to prevent them from milling us out and winning by deck out. Then we have 2 copies of Alliance of Evil. This card is very important against decks that have giant chakra areas like No Hand Water or Rasengan that really rely on having like 10 chakra to play the game. You just say, nope, for no hand cost, I am going to discard everyone's chakra. And then you don't really care about that because you only play 5 power juices in this deck. You don't need that much chakra for your deck to function. So any deck that really relies on chakra, this will absolutely just destroy them. Then we have 1 copy of Pressure. This says any ninja with no mental power cannot battle for as long as this card is on the field, and it is permanent forever, but your opponent on their turn can discard 2 cards to get rid of this. So you pay a hand cost plus this, they get rid of 2 cards, you break even, but you get at least 1 whole turn of their 0 mental power characters cannot battle. So that can give you a bunch of unblocked attacks to try to win the game, or if they can't afford to discard 2 cards out of their hand because their cards are just too important, you might just win off of that too because you get so much tempo from them not being able to battle. Then we have 1 copy of Delicate Operation. This is a decent option against decks that rely on jutsus too much for their game plan because it basically just says the next 4 times a jutsu would be played. It doesn't work. And then it also loses a coin at the start of each turn. But it basically says no jutsus for a couple turns. Here's our element breakdown. I thought this might be interesting to look at since this deck has so many different colors in it. We have 22 wind cards, 15 earth, 15 water, and then a little bit less at 11 fire, and only 6 lightning cards. So you'll see Nima June did a very good job of proportioning his hand costs to how many cards total of that element he played. So the symbols with the most hand costs are wind and water, and he also has a lot of wind and water cards. He has 3 lightning costs for hand costs, but you'll notice those lightning hand costs are usually, if not always, on a 2-color card. So like we have that Anko's Memory, for example. This can also be paid with water. And then we have Great Naruto Bridge, can also be paid with water. So even though we only have 6 lightning cards in the deck and 3 of them have lightning hand costs, it's okay because they also have optional water hand costs that you can pay instead, and we have 15 water cards in the deck to make that possible. Then the chakra cost for our jutsus that we have the most of is 4 earth, 1 from Ferocious Punch, and 3 from Hydro Pump. So it's nice that wind is also the most common chakra symbol in our deck. That way we can always make sure we have those wind symbols to pay for those jutsus. And then the 1 copy of Mind Transfer needs 2 earth chakra. We have only 4 cards that cost an earth chakra. So as soon as we play one of those, we will have 2 earth chakra available for that mind transfer. So you only have to see like 1 Shikamaru's Decision, for example, and then your mind transfer jutsu will be live. And then nothing in the deck needs fire or water chakra costs. So it's okay that we don't have as many of those as we have wind cards, for example. And then finally, here are his ratios for ninjas, missions, jutsus, and clients. He plays 30 ninjas, which is honestly a little higher than most people. I think most people play like 27 to 28. He plays the full 30. 12 0 drops. I thought I counted 13 earlier, but I guess it was 12. 6 1 drops, 5 2 drops. So an extremely safe curve, very low end heavy. Only 1 3, 4 4 drops, and 2 5 drops. No 6 or higher, so he can lack a little power in the late game if his opponent manages to get that far. They might overpower him on board state since he kind of caps out at turn 5. And for missions, he has 13. 9 of them are for consistency, and 4 of them are for interaction. He plays only 6 jutsus, which is pretty low. Most decks play like 9 to 10, I think. But they all have very flexible chakra costs. A lot of them can be played with any symbol of chakra, so it doesn't really matter which color of mission you play. Your jutsus can be used with any symbol for a few of those. And then he has 1 client. Most decks don't play a client, or if they do, they play 1 client, and it's usually Futaba to draw cards, or Ami to rip cards out of your opponent's hand. In this case, he plays Ami because he has enough females to make it live. And that about covers it. I hope y'all enjoyed this deck profile. I hope it gave you some ideas. I hope it was enlightening. And if you're not familiar with Naruto, I hope this taught you a little bit about the game and how interesting it can be, how cool the deck building process is. And I'll be back in the future with more of these deck profile videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.